Hey everyone, it's Chaz, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to move this mic up real quick because it's too low for me. Hey everyone, it's Chaz, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to work with the VLOOKUP function in Excel. Let's get to it. All right, so first of all, let's just take a look at how the VLOOK function actually works. So it's going to take 4 arguments. The first one, I put a blue square around it, is just going to be the value that you're trying to look up. You can actually type the number or the value itself or the word if you put it in quotation marks, or you can use a cell reference as shown in this image. The second part, which I put here in that dark red color, is the actual table that you're trying to look up the value in. So you give it the cell range of a table, and it's going to look in the first column of that table. So whatever table you give it in the second argument, it's always going to check the first column only. There's a way to look at columns aside from the first column, but it is not VLOOKUP. It uses something different. It's a little more complicated, and it's beyond the scope of this video, so we'll go over it in a different video. The third argument, which in my picture is just the number 2, it's always going to be a number, and it's just telling Excel which column number you want to actually display. So in other words, look up this value in blue in the first column of the table shown in red, and once you find it, display the value that's in column 2. And if you wanted a different column number, you just type a different number, column 3, column 6, or whichever column you want. The last argument is just always a true or a false, and it's just asking you if it's okay to use a partial match. So if you choose false, then you must have an exact match in your table, or if you leave it blank or put true, then by default, it'll allow partial matches. For the most part, when you're first starting out with VLOOKUP, you're probably better off just always using false and always using exact matches. But once you get the hang of it, partial matches are pretty powerful as well. All right, so let me show you an example of how to actually use VLOOKUP. I downloaded some sample Excel tables from this website here, Contextures. And let me just pull up one of these tables. So this is one of the tables that I downloaded, and let's try to do a VLOOKUP. So I'm just going to take this cell right over here. I'm just going to highlight it in yellow because that's where I'm going to put my value. And this is where I'm going to put my VLOOKUP. So let's just label these real quick. Okay, there we go. So for now, I'm just going to leave the test value blank. It's going to end up being the first column of this table, which is the ID column right here. So let's try it out. Let's go equal VLOOKUP, and I need my 4 arguments. The first one is the value to look up. It's just going to be whatever I type in this yellow cell right here. Do a comma. Now it wants the actual table to look in, and it's going to look in the first column of whichever table I give it. So I'm going to choose click right here, and in this case, it's already formatted as an Excel table, so if I really wanted to, I can just backspace out to all of this and just use table 3. But just in case you don't have it formatted like that, what you can do is click and drag across the entire table, or for a very large table, maybe use our shortcuts, Control, Shift, and the arrow keys. So I do Control, Shift, and right to get every column, and then Control, Shift, down to go down to the bottom of the table. And you can see in this case, Excel, since this is already formatted as a table, it didn't show the actual cell, the row and column numbers. Instead, it's saying table 3 all, which is fine. I'm going to come back up into my formula, and that's my second argument, press comma. And now I want the column index, or in other words, which column number do I want to display? So let's say I wanted to display the last name or the name L column. So let's count. That's, ID is column 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want to display column 5. So that's what I'm going to type, the number 5. And then finally, it's going to ask me, do I want partial matches? And in this case, I'm going to say no. So let's just do false. I do not want partial matches. I only want exact matches. I'm going to close the parentheses. And when I press enter, at first you're going to see an error. And it's just because I haven't put anything in my test value. Now, let's actually type something here. So looking over here, let's say I want to get Jenner to display. So Jenner is ID number 8. So if I type an 8 over here, it should display Jenner. Let's see what happens. It does. So now if I wanted to, I can keep going with these. and just keep displaying people's last names. Like maybe I want this one to be number 55. Oh, perfect. This one could be, I don't know, how about 1? How about the first one? Yeah, great. Now, if I scroll down this table, now if you notice on the bottom of this table, the last ID is number 96. So some of you may be asking, what happens if you type an ID that's not on the list? So for example, the last number was 96. What would happen if I typed 97? Let's go 97, and you get an error message. So this NA message is just telling you that the value that you're looking up is not actually in the first column of your table. So what some people do to deal with this, because sometimes in an Excel table, you don't like showing people this error message, there is another function you can use, and it's called if error. So I'm going to come up here, and what I'm going to do is wrap this VLOOKUP function and all of its arguments into another function, and it's if error, parentheses, and then the value is what you want to display normally. So that's going to be the result of this entire function. So just leave that there, press comma, and then you want the value if there's an error. So then this is where I would maybe put something in quotation marks and say player ID not found. And now when I type in a valid value like 33, I get the person's last name. And if I type an invalid value, it says player ID not found. If you wanted to make this table even easier to work with, maybe you can even do something like, please enter a value from 1 to 97. This way the person even knows what numbers they should be typing. And then when I enter this formula, now this value is too big and it says, please enter a value from 1 to 97. So, okay, fine. I'll type in 96. I'll get a person's last name. And if I want to mess it up, please enter a value from 1 to 97. All right, so that's it for VLOOKUP. HLOOKUP or horizontal lookup is similar. The only difference is that in VLOOKUP, you're searching in a column up and down, and then once you find something, you go across to display that value. But with HLOOKUP, you're looking across within the first row of a table, and when you find the value, you go down to display whatever value you want to show. And then there's another function in Excel, it's relatively new, called XLOOKUP. It will do a combination of the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. But if you want to see something about that, I can do that in a future video. All right, that's all for this one. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.